Starfield just unveiled its second major update, making good on one of the promised quality of life items from an earlier community post. Now, I've been following this one behind the scenes via the changelogs for the better part of last week, and there is possibly more here than even what the patch notes have revealed. Welcome back to the channel, it's LtBuzzLitebeer, and Starfield has just delivered update 1.7.36, a 2 gig update that has just managed to deliver a feature that not even Fallout 4 was able to make good on. Thanks again for all your awesome levels of continued support for my Starfield uploads. In case you haven't yet done so, please hit subscribe and ring the notifications bell to receive my latest upload alerts. Likes, comments, shares are greatly appreciated. Chapters are of course available for an easy viewing experience, and let's dive right in. Without a doubt, the centerpiece of Bethesda's latest patch is the studio's installation of a field of view slider. And this is a crucial feature for any game, but especially one that allows players to jump between first-person and 2 third-person modes. Now, players have been asking for FOV adjustments since the early Fallout days, and it has consistently fallen on the shoulders of the modding community involving the manipulation of the .ini files. So, in a way, this is a huge day for Bethesda. You can find these new sliders located in the Accessibility menu tab, and adjustments vary from the lowest at 70 degrees of view all the way up to the max at 110 degrees, along with separate sliders for both first and third person. And as someone that has a background in competitive FPS games, I'm a real stickler for having a very precise FOV setting. And now we've finally got the option to change it to our liking, and I think that players are really going to enjoy this simple yet highly requested quality of life change. Now, the optional third-person view, which was already quite a bit up and over the right-hand shoulder, has really extended its range with tremendous sightlines. Also included in today's update, Intel ARC GPU owners are finally going to be getting some much-needed relief, as issues have been surfacing ever since Starfield's launch, like the game not starting at all, muddy graphics, overly aggressive RAM consumption, and much more. Now, Intel acknowledged these issues back in late August, but for anyone owning this particular brand of GPU, the sledding has been rough when attempting to play Starfield. Intel has pledged to work on optimizing drivers, but this is the first time we have seen this specific GPU manufacturer mentioned by name by Bethesda, and will hopefully handle the main issues between the optimization of the hardware in tandem with the game itself. Now, if you do have one of these GPUs, I know they're kind of rare, but let me know if this update has improved or hurt your system's performance with the game. Along with the published patch notes, there were a ton of changelogs being published to Steam leading up to today's update. None of these are showing up in the patch notes, so they may already be stealthily installed and not mentioned, or may be included in a future update, starting off with Steam Deck. Now, DevTech and QA staging changelogs seem to be flying in by the minute, indicating that the team at Bethesda was busy modifying the game on the back end, and these continued throughout the weekend, but one in particular mentioning Steam Deck verified test results, unsupported graphics performance, may indicate that BGS is busy attempting to get Starfield Steam verified, which could be a major accomplishment if they manage to pull it off. We've seen multiple videos popping up on YouTube of players actually playing the game on their Steam Decks, and despite initial concerns that it would run poorly, these videos actually show the opposite. Between the encouraging video footage and changelogs, we could be seeing the next step in Starfield's Steam Deck verification and needed improvements to the overall gaming experience for handhelds in general. There was also a ton of changes aimed at QA testing, and even a change appearing taking the game from partial to full controller support, and it sounds like something very small and inconsequential, but now on Steam, the game does indeed show full controller support, although it makes no mention of this major change in today's patch notes. Having the ability to control all functions of the game via a controller versus going back and forth is a welcome change for players playing the game on PC via a controller. Multiple posts and workaround guides have been posted ever since Starfield launched, and I personally only play the game on mouse and keyboard, but if you do use a controller on PC, let me know if it is now working completely via the controller. Equally important are bug fixes, especially to huge quest lines, and there was one major issue plaguing the Crimson Fleet quests, specifically to the Echoes of the Past portion that has now been addressed. Now, for anyone that has gone through this issue, when you land on Crix to investigate the prison, the final encounter pits you up against waves of smaller creatures that bury under the ground, and it eventually spawns in a giant boss version that has the standard health armor bar and requires some chipping away to finally down. Players have consistently seen issues with progression blockers involving these creatures since the game's release, usually involving the final boss burrowing under the ground only to surface behind a wall and or container area, making it impossible to hit or damage, and also not allowing it to burrow back under the ground and back to the player. I know of this one because I've seen it firsthand on one of my NG Plus playthroughs. The only fix was to reload a previous save, and hopefully you had one that was close to the boss fight, and then you had to try it all again. There have also been reports of one of the minor creatures not showing up anywhere on the map, just kind of hiding near the final shuttlecraft, and until all the creatures are killed in this final area, you cannot leave Crix. Players have reported finding it chilling out off the radar, killing it, and immediately being met with a questline prompt to finally leave the planet. But according to the update 1.7.36, that will all now be handled, and hopefully players can finish that one up without using the KAH console command to kill all creatures in the event as a workaround. And since we're speaking of it, we might as well finish this one up on the topic of faction quest lines. And this article from Screen Rant, every Starfield faction quest line ranked worst to best. And they've ranked the Freestar Collective, Ryujin Industries, Crimson Fleet, and UC Vanguard full quest lines in order. And I thought it would be really interesting to take a look at their rankings and add in some context because, as I've said in past Starfield uploads, I think Bethesda games' main storylines are decent, but it is the side content like faction quest lines that are truly interesting. So at number 4, they picked the Freestar Collective Rangers quest line, which embraces that space cowboy fantasy inspired by the iconic show Firefly. Comments include that it has a predictable storyline, but it does award you some of the best quest rewards. And yeah, I would tend to agree with Screen Rant on this one. Overall, I liked the Freestar questline, but the pacing was a bit off, and as the article mentions, it was predictable. But the Star Eagle ship reward at the end is really quite nice. At number 3, Screen Rant has picked the Ryujin Industries questline, and after that initial mundane coffee run mission, which can actually turn deadly in a hurry, this one really lays into the stealth and subterfuge motifs with a heavy hand. The article cites that stealth can feel confusing and lead to frustrating moments, and I do remember one of the final missions where it had us taking to the air ducts, and I just totally failed at that. It just ended up going in guns blazing. Even with the janky stealth moments, Ryujin was a blast, and I would probably slot this one into second place just because it was so different. Let me know where you rank all of these once we finish this breakdown. At number 2, Screen Rant has picked the UC Vanguard questline, and that whole plot of Vae Victus, the previous wars, clones, heat leeches becoming terramorphs was all very unique and action-packed. In fact, it was so reliant on combat, it felt to me that it fell slightly behind that of Ryujin, just because that particular questline was completely different in all of its requirements. Still, the UC Vanguard missions were intense, and I love that connection and interplay between loyalty and deception. I would have placed this one number 3, but still, there's a quality amount of content here, and the final apartment in New Atlantis is a nice reward. And of course, at number 1, the undisputed king of Starfield faction questlines, the Crimson Fleet. I well and truly loved this questline, how it allowed you to play out 2 scenarios at once, either choosing SysDef or the Crimson Fleet. The settings were all unique, the option to play as a double agent, and that final requirement of shielding your ship and flying into that crazy storm to grab all those credits was just genius. All culminating in a giant final space battle forcing you to choose order or chaos. Yeah, I'm going to agree with the article on this one. Definitely the number 1 questline in all of Starfield. And this is probably a great place to end this one. I look forward to reading your feedback on the latest updates and that Screen Rant Questline ranking. Remember to hit subscribe and ring the notifications bell to receive my latest upload alerts. Likes, comments, shares are of course greatly appreciated. All my socials can be found in the video description below. Shout out to the now over 172,000 of you that have stuck with me and hit subscribe. And a special thanks goes out to my patrons and to those of you sending over those YouTube super chats. Until the next one, this is LtBuzzLitebeer signing off.